when you were on my show previously, you were pretty outspoken about Howie Hawkins and the fact that he embraced RussiaGate and also these anti-Syria talking points, among other things.
They're following this Russiagate thing, which I think is serious. I think Trump ought to be impeached. I think it's obvious he saw collusion. He did collude, him and his son and his son-in-law, and it's all over that first volume of the Mueller report. It's all over there. I mean, when people say, "Oh, it showed no collusion," no, it didn't. It says, Mueller says right away, "I didn't talk about collusion. I talked about narrow legal definition of conspiracy." Plus, I can't indict a president, according to this OLC letter in the Justice Department. He just laid out the evidence for prosecutors, which has to be Congress.
So Howie Hawkins pushing Russiagate as a Green Party person, the guy is intellectually impaired. I don't know what his emotional development is, but when he does something like that, that's a guy not to be trusted. You can't trust Howie Hawkins as far as you can throw him. That's why that guy, is he a mole inside the Green Party? Probably. The Green Party needs to get rid of guys like Howie Hawkins who push Russiagate. And if they embrace him, then, that's the end of the Green Party for sure.
So, I mean, you were pretty vocal against him, which I really appreciate, because there wasn't much coverage just about the Green Party nomination generally. It was really me, Nico House, Richard Medhurst, George Galloway. That was really basically it, and I appreciate you speaking out a bit. What confused me is that a few months after your last appearance on my show, you had Howie on your show. I
know.
And you didn't really talk about that much. I think you asked him kind of one sort of vague question.
Can you just personally, can you say right now that you've promised to be skeptical of CIA talking points about bullshit or foreign wars? Can you promise that you'll be skeptical about that stuff?
I've been skeptical since the Pentagon Papers came out just before I was drafted for the Vietnam War.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't talk about the Green Party rigging, which was pretty demonstrable, and every other candidate in the Green Party primary said happened. So again, I'm just curious what your logic was in having Howie Hawkins on your show towards the end of the election.
So I had Howie Hawkins on as a personal favor to a friend of mine. And so I was like, okay, I'll have him on. And, they don't have any power. And the nomination of Howie Hawkins was cementing the death of the Green Party. And I knew it. So I didn't have to hurt them. I didn't have to do anything to Howie Hawkins. He had already done it to himself. The Green Party had already did it to themselves. And so I had him on, and I asked him, here's the sad thing. I ended up voting for him. A guy who I don't really particularly like. But I just, I'm not voting for, he's not a warmonger and he's not a corporatist, right? And Howie Hawkins actually does show up at union meetings and cares about workers. And so that's where I put my vote. But so my whole thing is now you see people running around trying to tear down Nick Brown as People's Party and saying, well, there's all these problems with it. And I think a lot of those people are bad faith actors. And the reason why I say that is because just like I see problems with the Green Party, I'll point them out maybe if I see them and it's great, but I'm not going to talk about it for weeks or months on end because they have no power. It's punching down. They're nothing. And so that same thing with the People's Party, right? Like if you got involved and you saw it was a little fucked up, you'd be like, you'd maybe tell somebody, hey, I tried to get involved with the People's Party, it was fucked up. But you wouldn't go on a crusade for months and months to try to take them down, people with no power. So that's the same reason why I didn't go hard on Howie Hawkins when he was on my show, as hard as I could have, because I had already gone super hard on him in my other videos. And I'd already said he was the death of the Green Party, and I knew it was true, and it was true. And so that's why they were already dead.
I guess from my perspective, just looking at the rigging of the primaries, which again, every other candidate who ran for president in the Green Party primaries said that it was rigged for Hawkins. And I know Jesse Ventura expressed interest. He actually submitted a formal letter of interest for running for the party, and he was kind of gaslit out of it last minute. So, from my perspective, I think the problem is if the Green Party is rigged, there's a possibility that it's being rigged to be irrelevant, that there's an establishment force there that is trying to keep them irrelevant. And, another thing that came out during the course of the nomination process was an Old Nation article where it's written in the article that the late Kevin Zeese, he received over $100,000 from George Soros. So again, yeah. So again, that's
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And again, with the rigging of their primary, like I was just tangentially aware of it. Like I didn't look into it because I didn't give a shit because I knew they were done. So that's why I didn't even look into it, honest. And maybe that was a mistake on my part, but again, it was just like I could see they didn't even fucking qualify for what 20 ballots at 20. I mean, they didn't even get. They were already done. So that's what I didn't know that about them taking George Soros money, and yet I didn't think about. I thought about Howie Hawkins repeating CIA talking points about Russiagate, and to the point where he threw Jill Stein under the bus. And it made me think the same thing that you just said. And then, as you said, I reminded myself, like, oh, yeah, I used to be suspect of him in that way, too. Like, is he some kind of CIA plant? Like, why would you be a Green Party person and then fucking Russiagate, which is just going to destroy your own organization? Because that's what the establishment always does. They always say the person to their left is a commie, or, I mean, they red bait and McCarthy smear. That's always been the trick. And so that's what I initially thought, that maybe that was what Howie Hawkins was, controlled opposition. He was there and so maybe you're right. Maybe that's why. I don't know.